Where does your networking success come from? I'm Greg. I'm the Introverted Networker. And today I'm talking about where you'll find success in your networking efforts. Where will you find networking opportunities, or where will you find opportunities in your network? When I say where, I really should say who, but I'm thinking about networks or your network as three concentric circles. So imagine that you have three concentric circles on a page. It's a black page, white lines, three concentric circles. And in the middle circle, you have a circle labeled family ties. Family ties are people you're related to. They're people who are close friends. They're people who you're going to probably hang out with on the weekend or hang out at holidays. People that you know from your life, but that you're really tight with, people that you see often. And these aren't people we normally think are in our network. And in a lot of cases, they probably aren't. I mean, you could always work with your family or work with your friends to try to find opportunities. But when we're thinking about networking or we're thinking about building professional relationships, this probably isn't where you start, but that's where you are. You are in the center. Your family ties are the closest people to you. As you move out to the second concentric ring, you have what I call dormant ties. And dormant ties are people you've worked with or interacted with in the past, people who have been in your life in your past that you probably only talk to 2 or 3 times a year, or maybe monthly or quarterly. But these are people who you might have seen on a day-to-day basis if they were a coworker, but then you got a new job or they got a new job, and now you don't see them anymore. But you know them. And if you saw them on the street, you'd probably say hi. Or if you sent them a LinkedIn message, they would probably respond because they see your name, they know you, and they trust you. You're somebody they could respond to. Those are our dormant ties. Those are very important. I think those are the people that we probably neglect the most in our networking efforts. And when I say start with who you know, that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about your dormant ties. And dormant ties come from this concept that was part of a study at the Sloan School of Management at MIT. And this study came out, and I've talked about this before, but executives went back through their list of contacts from people they'd worked with in the past and reached out to them and said, hey, I'm working on this problem, would love to get your advice. They were surprised by how many of those people responded. They responded because they knew this person. This person was reaching out for help, and they thought, this is a person I want to help. And so they responded. So the executives were surprised at how many people responded, number one. And number two, they were surprised by the quality of the advice they got from these people. So that spawned the whole notion of dormant ties. And it got talked about in Adam Grant's book, Give and Take. That's the first place I read about it. Then I went and I looked at the study, and that's part of what I've observed in my networking is that your dormant ties are people you can connect with that you don't see every day. And that helps you grow your network or tap into or reconnect with the network you already have. Because most people say, I don't have a network, I don't know anybody, I don't know where to start. And that's why I tell them, start with your dormant ties. Go through those people you used to work with. And if you're not connected with them on LinkedIn, go find them, go connect with them as first degree connections, start a conversation with them. And it doesn't have to be in depth. And again, you're not planning a trip with these people. You're just going to talk to them and see what's going on in their life, see what they're working on, see what they're struggling with. So dormant ties, I think, in that second concentric circle are really overlooked and really important. The third circle, and this is something new or new term that I'm going to coin, and I'll tell you where I got it from, is what I'm going to call fuzzy ties. Fuzzy ties are also weak ties. Weak ties were highlighted in a study that Harvard Business Review did where they analyzed all these people's LinkedIn connections, and they found that people got jobs through weak ties, meaning people connected with people they didn't really know, but that was the key to getting a new job, was weak ties. The problem with that study is you put that out there and you don't really explain how did those people get connected with those weak ties, or what I'm going to call fuzzy ties. Let me just stop right there and tell you why I'm going to call them fuzzy ties and tell you why this is important. There's a book called The Go-Giver, written by Bob Berg and John David Mann. If you haven't read The Go-Giver, you need to read The Go-Giver. The whole concept of The Go-Giver is that people who give more get more in the long run, or realize higher levels of success when they give more value to other people. And the go-giver concept is really more focused around people who are building businesses and trying to make sales. It's a different approach. And then they wrote a follow-up to that. There were many follow-ups to that, but the next one was, or another follow-up was called The Go-Giver Sells More. And the point was, how do you sell more by giving more? How do you give more value to sell more value? But there was a statement in there when I read that book that talked about what they called the fuzzy market, meaning the people who are in the fuzzy market, the people who are in that market that you don't know yet, but that you get introduced to by one of your contacts or somebody you already know or somebody you do business or one of your customers. Your future sales are going to be in that fuzzy market. So again, imagine my 3 concentric circles. You've got your family in the middle. Then you've got your customers in the second ring, the ones you already have. Those customers are going to refer you to new customers that are in that fuzzy market. And that's the term they used in that book. And that's why I'm going to straight up steal that and apply it to networking, because it works the same way. People in that fuzzy ties or those weak ties are people you don't know yet, but you're going to get introduced to them through your dormant ties. And that's how networking is going to work for you. Those fuzzy ties and those weak ties are those same people that are closer to the opportunities you want. They are closer to that job opening or that company you want. And when you get introduced to them by your dormant ties, that puts you closer to your opportunity. So you start out in the middle of the circle, and the job opportunity, the business opportunity, whatever opportunity is on the outside of the last circle or in the last circle in those fuzzy ties. But you've got to get there. You can't just cold outreach that fuzzy market or those fuzzy ties. Now, you can do that. It's not impossible. But most people who are listening to this or reading this newsletter are not the kind of people that are going to want to go out there and cold call those people, cold knock on those doors, cold email those people and send that stuff out. That's something that, again, most people don't want to do that. They're not comfortable with that. And so they don't network. And they think, I'm going to go to a networking event and there's going to be all these fuzzy ties. And there might be tons of fuzzy ties there. But how are you going to talk to them? How are you going to connect with them? How are you going to get them to help you move closer to that opportunity? It comes through getting introduced to them by your dormant ties. That's why I always say, start with who you already know. Start with your dormant ties. Those dormant ties in the second circle, when you tell them who in that fuzzy market you're going to want, or who in those fuzzy ties you want to meet, they're going to refer you or introduce you to those people in that third circle. And those people in the third circle are going to get you to the opportunity on the outside of the circle. So that's a little bit of a mental framework, a way to think about it. But going back to the Go-Giver Sells More, there was one key tip in there, and I really love this. And it's something I'm trying to do in my networking. And it's something that I try to ask people now when I talk to them. And hopefully, you can turn it around instead of a question and turn it into a statement. And in the Go-Giver Sells More, the idea was, if you have a customer that you already work with, or you have a contact or a networking person or a colleague, or you have a vendor you work with or somebody, what you really want to tell them is, here's what my ideal customer says, so that I'm the solution to their problem. So let me say that a little simpler. These are the words I want you to listen for. And if you hear a person say these words, send them my way. So what I would say is, anybody out here, here for me, the introverted networker, what I want you to listen for when you talk to people is somebody say, I just don't know how to network. I'm really uncomfortable going to events. I would love to learn how to network more effectively. If I'm telling you this now, and when you hear those words from anybody in your life, you should send them to this podcast or send them to this video or send them to this newsletter, because that's what I'm here for. But I'm telling you exactly what I want you to listen for. And you can do the same thing in your networking. You can tell your dormant ties, this is what I'm looking for. And when you hear this, send them my way. So if you're trying to network to get a job, how do we do this, right? The simple way we do this is with our target company list. We have our list of companies that we give to our dormant ties, and we say, if you hear somebody who works at one of these, or you come across somebody that works at one of these, I would love you to introduce me to them. Meaning, if you hear of somebody in this fuzzy ties circle, this fuzzy market that is related to one of these companies, I would love you to introduce me to them. And then that way you've got all your dormant ties out there looking, subconsciously usually. But when they hear that statement, they're going to remember what you said, and they're going to be like, oh, I need to introduce them to my contact who told me that's who they want to talk to. So it's not selling, but it's using that concept of saying to somebody, when you hear somebody say these words, send them my way. And that's how you can really think about this networking, how it will help you get started, because you won't be worried about talking to those people in the fuzzy ties circle. You can focus more on the people in the dormant ties circle, because those conversations are easier to have. You know those people. It's a simpler conversation. It's less risk. And as you talk to them and you're giving them your target company list, or you're talking to them, or you're saying, this is the kind of person that when you come across them, send them my way or send me their way. That makes it so easy for them to then connect you into that outer circle. And as I said, the outer circle, those weak ties that were highlighted in that Harvard Business Review article, are the keys to the opportunities that you want. I hope that framework, that mindset helps you. I have just been thinking about this a lot. I really wanted to kind of share that with you, but let me know what you think. Let me know if that's clear. If you need a drawing, I can try to do that. I don't draw well, but I can see what I can come up with. If the visual helps, great. Maybe I'll come up with that for the newsletter. Who knows? But try that out. Try that mindset. See if that kind of changes things. If it does, let me know. If it doesn't, let me know. I'm here to help you become a better networker. Please subscribe to the channel, subscribe to the podcast, subscribe to the newsletter, share it with your friends. Remember, if you hear somebody say, I really would love to network, I just don't know how, those are the words to send them my way, the Introverted Network. Have a great week. Always be connecting.